Middleman. Middleman. Middleman.
This is the Middleman. You're welcome to Nigeria's 65th Independence Anniversary Special. Today, we will discuss Nigeria's policies and programs in the last 65 years. Nigeria is 65, but what were we before independence in 1960, and what are we now? Before the green and white flag rose, the land was a mosaic of kingdoms and empires. Oyo Empire in the southwest, the Benin Kingdom in the south, the Hausa city-states in the north, the Kanem-Bornu Empire in the northeast, the Sokoto Caliphate in the northwest, Nri Kingdom in the southeast, Nupe Kingdom, Igala Kingdom, and Jukun states in the middle belt, Delta kingdoms, that is, various communities in the Niger Delta, such as the Ibibio-Efik, Itsekiri, Ijaw, and other city-states, each with its own pulse of trade, tradition, and power. The arrival of the British redrew these lines, binding diverse peoples into a single colony by 1914. Out of this colonial experiment came agitation, voices that demanded more than subjugation. From Herbert Macaulay's stirring calls to Nnamdi Azikiwe's fiery speeches, from Obafemi Awolowo's organising to Ahmadu Bello's Northern Awakening, a movement grew. By 1960, the colonial grip loosened and Nigeria stood at the dawn of self-rule. Independence was a promise, but it also came with a burden. The 1960s brought euphoria, then fracture. A republic declared, a constitution tested, and within 6 short years, the nation fell into coups and countercoups. The scars of the Biafran War from 1967 to 1970 remain etched into the national memory: brother against brother, famine, resilience, and an uneasy peace. Out of the rubble, oil wealth emerged, turning Nigeria into a giant with feet of clay. The black gold gave us revenue, but it also sowed corruption, dependence, and short-lived booms. The 1970s and 1980s were eras of promises on paper, ambitious development plans, state-owned enterprises, and experiments with industrialization rose. Yet, so did military regimes that stifled democracy. Structural adjustment in the mid-1980s reshaped the economy, lifting trade barriers but burdening ordinary citizens with austerity. Policies were drafted, discarded, or distorted by corruption and mismanagement. Nigeria marched through decades of alternating hope and hardship. With the return to democracy in 1999, new policies came like waves on a restless shore. The National Economic Empowerment and Development Strategy needs sought to reform governance and diversity growth. The National Integrated Power Project, NIPP, was launched in the 2000s, birthing power plants that promised electricity for millions through the grid, though the grid still flickers with inconsistency. Agricultural programs, Operation Feed the Nation, the Green Revolution, and later the Anchor Borrowers Program, each aimed to secure food, leaving some traces while others faded like slogans. Education reforms, health initiatives, pension reforms, and banking consolidation shaped the national landscape, sometimes succeeding but often collapsing under the influence of politics. The years 2010s and 2020s brought fresh challenges. Terrorism, insurgency, and recession tested the Federation. Yet, policies continued. The Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, petroleum reforms, and social investment schemes, some cushioned the blows, others barely scratched the surface. Through it all, Nigerians endured, adapted, and pressed forward. Now, at 65, Nigeria stands at a crossroad of history and policy. The journey is not merely of kings and coups, wars and oil, but of decisions etched into law, of policies that guide their lives for better or worse. To understand Nigeria is to walk through both triumph and trial, to trace the promises of independence against the realities of governance. This is the story of a nation, not only defined by its past, but also by the policies that shape its present and will determine its future. We will take a quick break right now. When we return, we'll be examining Nigeria's policies, which have failed, which have succeeded, while we ask, what has Nigeria done for you? Just stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Middleman. 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 Middleman.
And you're welcome back to The Middlemen. We are jurors, and this is the October 1st special broadcast of Enterprise TV News. Since independence in 1960, Nigeria has launched many national programs and plans, some ambitious, some poorly implemented. Let's delve into them. The first National Development Plan from 1962 to 1968. Dereka.
Yeah, Nigeria was just, yes, thank you very much. Happy Independence. Nigeria was just coming into being. That was when Ahmadu Bello was the Prime Minister. I took a loan, to build our first dam. That was when, some roads were built. Bridges as well were built, and if I remember correctly, I think Mohammed Airport, So we just started, settling down around that time. The military came into being, and that all we had as an independence was the police. But the military, the indigenous military, Nigerian army came in on independence. And then, because then, it was basically the regions that, had so much power. They were receiving, they were getting revenue, paying royalties to government, and all of that. They even had diplomatic representation abroad. You had the Court of Appeal in the West. The Western region had the Court of Appeal, which after the coup of 1966, now was not taken over by the federal government and became the Court of Appeal you have today. So that development plan, Nigeria was just
we can say that development plan failed because it culminated in the Civil War in 1967.
Yeah, you see, the sad thing was that the military, that just came in around independence, became
so powerful,
ambitious. There's this book, The Fate of Africa. The author says that there was a kind of silent power tussle between Prime Minister Obafemi Awolowo and President Nnamdi Azikiwe. So that there were rumors that they were baiting the military. So the military, if the military had some experience like the police came in 1930, Nigeria police. If the military had the experience of like maybe 10, 20 years, prior to independence, like the police, of course, maybe it would have, produced an officer corps, well-trained officer corps, and there wouldn't have been that ambition, among officers
to take
and
leadership.
Power tussle, that power tussle that later now, because the power tussle was among the politicians, yes, but gradually the military, how the military now began to see itself as an alternative. Of course, if you remember, of course, Ghana. There was influence from Ghana. You know, so all of these things served to radicalize the young military.
See, the truth is that nature abhors vacuum. You know, and nothing just happens. And it has to be activated. It has to be a catalyst to ensure that things happen and happen so fast. Of course, the military were incubated into the Nigerian police that early. But the question is, what catalyzed the military becoming very strong to desiring to, you know, oust an elected government at the time? And all of this is born from the fact that the politicians at the time weren't even in unison. You know, they all had agenda.
I mean, we were amalgamated from different kingdoms, right? And then we became a nation state again with different ethnicities and religion, and you know, so we were different people. We could not have just united because we were granted independence.
This is not
actually something, you know, made a very important point. How did the military, the young army,
become so ambitious?
Now it snowballed, you know, into the power tussle, you know, that happened after the Civil War. You know, by the time we were now talking about the second National Development Plan, you know, and the third
National Development Plan.
When the IG of police then, you know, wanted MD Yusuf, he now said, he now put forward a plan that, okay, they wanted to import these APCs, these armored personnel carriers that you now see. And the military said, no. According to a book written by a foremost scholar on police, Niger police affairs, Professor Nnamdi Azikiwe, he said the military felt that, this police will become so powerful that they could overthrow the military regime. And so they cancelled that idea. And they now began to gradually strip the police of, anything that could make them become a formidable force. So, of course, at independence, we had 2 universities, and then I think Obafemi Awolowo University came in the 60s. By the 70s, we had, I think, University of Lagos.
University of Lagos.
Then, of course, in 1967, we had the 12 states that were created after the counter-coup, of July 29, 1966. The first coup was January 15, 1966. The counter-coup was July 29, 1966. So, eventually, there was this pogrom in the north, killing of Easterners, and so of course, then Lieutenant Colonel Jukun declared Republic of Biafra on May 30, 1967 at the Ahira Declaration. And so all of that gradually snowballed into the Civil War. The Civil War ended on January 15, 1970 with the signing of the Act of Surrender by General Philip Effiong, who was deputy to Ojukwu. Ojukwu by then fled to Ivory Coast. And so, Gowon created, as a way of breaking the Biafran Republic, he created 12 states. Then we now moved into full-blown military rule, and then we continued. Now, of course, the second and third national development plans, now led to the building of highways, of course, bridges, and I think the refinery started too.
Yeah, refinery.
Within that period, the ports and all of those things, Now Nigeria.
So we can say the second and third national development plans succeeded.
Well, yes. Because the output of all of that, the second and the third, is what Nigerians, even as at now, are enjoying. We've not seen anything better than some of these things.
You know what somebody was saying today? Yes. That today we have over 4,000 kilometers of railway, and that a larger part,
we're built in the
70%,
we're built in the 70s.
The colonial is left, and since then we've not been able to match up to it. So when people say that the colonialists, that they destroyed Nigeria, what about the railway?
No, they destroyed the people, but built infrastructure.
No, they didn't stop us from becoming whatever.
They didn't destroy the people.
Remember, was it not the same?
Rather, it
South
was
Korea, you had South Korea, you had Malaysia.
We have India.
You had what about Singapore?
Okay, so another program is the Operation Feed the Nation of 1976. I think General Obasanjo, came into power.
Sorry, we should not forget the role that General Mohamed played, in terms of helping
reunite Nigeria.
Not just reuniting, trying to make Africa a strong force.
Okay.
And suspicions that that was, partly influenced the coup that, took his life. So of course you had the Operation Feed the Nation, which was a grandiose plan by General Obasanjo. Of course, by then, part of what happened was even the oil money was flowing. If you remember, General Yakubu Gowon, who infamously said that money is not the problem.
It's how to spend
it. So we were paying salaries. We pay salaries for civil servants in Grenada, in South America. We were just giving out money. We were dishing out money. There was a cement armada of there was a cement armada, where money. Then you remember the Udoji Award, which was also part of that national. I think the 3rd National Development Plan, where there was so much money that civil servants were just buying, even bought washing machines, bought all kinds of things. So Operation Feed the Nation, well, it didn't succeed in the way
that it was planned to.
Yeah, because of course by 1979 there was pressure on the government to leave.
Yeah.
Then the country had
we had an election.
We had
a government. Yes.
The president. We had the National Assembly. They were all based in Lagos. But on December 31, 1983, General Sani Abacha, then he was Brigadier Sani Abacha, he announced military rule, and then we dovetailed, we had the Buhari era,
which by our parents' account was a terrible time. They were queuing for bread, queuing for milk.
That's not this. That was the interlude between Shagari
and Babangida.
No, and Buhari. Because if you then when the military came in, they had our politicians hid money in overhead tanks that they hid. So they were now breaking into shops. They were breaking into shops. And so if they saw where, because there was Esenko. There was what was called Esenko, essential commodities. When the federal government was bringing in milk and all kinds of things, people had to stand in line. Because austerity program was introduced into Nigeria for the first time.
So it was because of this corruption that General Buhari, what was he then, went to go and kidnap Umaru Diko.
Yeah, they wanted to put him on trial, but it didn't work.
So what was important in that era was the reasons that the military gave for taking over from Shagari, right, and putting Buhari as a stooge was corruption. Corruption was of the Kiniko.
Just exactly the same way.
By the time Babangida now took over, same way, he also mentioned corruption of the Buhari era. Yes. That was why he took over from his other.
The same thing, General Joshua Dogoyaro. When the Buhari regime was overthrown, in 1985, I think it was August 31, 1985, when it was overthrown, and then they also cited the fact that Buhari was leading the country astray. Yeah. That he had left the path that they all agreed, on how.
So Babangida introduced the structural adjustment program.
Interestingly,
I know about that
one. For the first time, we had a vocabulary there that there was no alternative to SAP. This Babangida came and said that one day he said he was surprised that why the Nigerian economy had not collapsed. See, there was something interesting about the military. Yes, the officers went to Sandos, they went to India, they went to different parts of the world where they garnered experience, in different, but they were not sufficiently schooled in administration. Gowon had the benefit of super permanent secretaries like Philip Asiodu, the former Ọba Benin, Rediawa, like Alison Aida, super permanent secretaries who understood administration, who are well trained. But sadly, the military now took upon itself that, toga of, know it all. Although they had somebody like Chief Olufalaye, Chief Olufalaye, I think, who schooled at Yale, an Ivy League university in the US. Babangida had Chuo Kongbu, Babangida had Rewa and Luke, he had different people.
So, did the structural adjustment program of 1986 succeed?
It led to Nigerian intellectual freedom.
In fact, it was the first Japa program.
I remember in 1985, Nigeria is 25. Arise, people united will never fall. And then Andrew, no check out to Nigeria to survive.
They have built the nation.
So people now started running away from the country. But
there was also National Directorate of Employment in 1986.
And then later he had MAMSA.
Yes.
Which was headed by Professor Jerry Kana. Who said if you're a minister well. All that. So we had the Better Life for Rural Women
in 1987. Miriam Babangida. I can say that it was successful because during Better Life for Rural Women, markets were open in different communities across the country. And I remember that the Sunday market in Ogba, it only opened on Sundays, but you would go there and buy groceries at cheaper rates. So that succeeded.
Yes, which ironically it's what though I'm not designing that I would love to fast forward, but just to draw reference, which is what they are trying to repeat now without having great success as a result of that, unfortunately.
The interesting thing with that was that we were still largely dependent on imports.
Oh, really?
At what point?
Those programs, because those programs would have succeeded if we had deepened local production.
We didn't have electricity.
There was relative electricity at the time.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Excuse me. There was. I don't remember.
When because I remember, growing up in the 80s. Of course, generator wasn't even the in thing. All right, but I can vividly remember. There's no time, at least all those while we come back from school, we watch our cartoon. There's never a time.
Where did you live?
In Jos.
I lived in Lagos.
Right?
And in this same 80s.
Yes. In Lagos, I lived
in this same 80s. Look, darkness everywhere.
Because, okay, now I understand. I lived in Jos. We were serviced by Nesco. Power company. There
wasn't electricity in Lagos.
I can't remember any time I went without light.
I used lantern. Kerosene lantern that you will wash the shade and break it and get into trouble. Then at night you want to watch Mirror in the Sun. You are waiting for electricity like this. Only one far neighbor you will see with generator. Long distance, you don't will see ray of light from distance. There wasn't light when we were young.
But my question is this, right? With the reference from where I grew up in Jos, Nesco was there. It was established in 1952, I guess. We had light all through, 24 hours. We never missed a minute.
You know that in Niger Delta regions where you had oil companies, they too used to generate power and supply it to their neighbors. Before federal government would say, oh, no, whatever electricity you generate, send it to the national grid. You cannot just power your community. But there are communities like that just enjoy electricity, 24 hours electricity, because they are not on the grid.
Yes,
because the national grid, we were using lanterns.
Which is why I thought,
yes. There's a year in Nigeria, I think 1977, when fuel scarcity lasted for a whole year.
Fuel scarcity
1987.
I think 1977.
1977
for a whole year.
Fuel scarcity lasted for 1 year.
So the Directorate for Food, Roads and Rural Infrastructure, DFRI, I remember in the 80s.
Larry Konya, Air Vice Marshal Larry Konya.
Did he work?
Oh, he did. He went into rural areas. He went in. You see, one thing about the military was that the military actually did well in terms of, deepening Nigeria's infrastructure. If not for the coups, somehow, I think
so greed,
the Republic had not collapsed.
Greed?
They would have, greed and then ambition for power. Because the military now got the same problem that Gowon had. Gowon said he was going to relinquish power in 1971. On 1971, he didn't show any sign that he wanted to go. Murtala Mohammed, you know, of course, how long did he stay? Then he was overthrown.
6 months.
1976. Then Obasanjo came in. Of course, there was so much pressure on him by 1979.
He handed over power.
Presidential election where we had the 12-2/3.
You
know what is 12 to 3rd of 19 states? So invited Professor Chikobi.
So it's not today that Beavers.
To come and,
so it's not today that Beavers.
INEC has been attacking us.
I remember the Beavers has been doing because of that.
And the chairman of ENECO then, Justice Obey Whiskey, you know. When some people accuse him of collecting a bribe of 1 million, he now said if he saw 1 million, he would die.
because the highest note in those days was 20 naira. So how will you calculate?
He said if he saw 1 million in his life, he would collapse. You know, so
okay, so there was also the National Poverty Eradication Program, NAPEP, in 2001.
2001. Really? Was it 2001?
We have gone for, you know, you had the family support program.
Yes.
Of Abacha.
Abacha.
It was
yes.
Abacha's wife's program.
Yes.
They had the PTF, Petroleum
Trust Fund.
You know, which was overseen by
Buhari.
And they actually did a lot of things.
But PTF was accused of corruption under Buhari.
No, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, well, there were these allegations that the consultants, but there was no direct accusation, you know,
to Buhari's person.
Yeah, but the consultants. But
I would say yes.
Interestingly, that was when you had the late iconic Professor Dora Akunyili, who went for treatment abroad and returned 13,000 pounds, you know, to the treasury. That was what some people, you know, when they were looking for somebody to head NAFDAC, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, they told, you know, they said, look at that, there is this lady, she is impeccable, she is incorruptible, you know. So that was when, you know, I mean, she came on board, you know, of course, under Obasanjo, you know, that was by, you know, by then, the Abacha died. Abacha died June 8, 1998. Of course, we had the June 12 elections, with the June 12 presidential election, 1993. Which, you know, was not
iconic. We actually skipped that.
Yeah. In Babangida's book, he said that Abacha had held him hostage. He blamed Abacha for the entire annulment.
Even if the family of Abacha actually came to go against it. Yes, of course.
But the family kept changing the date for transition.
What is iconic under Abacha was that he too planned to do an election, but all the 5 political parties under him, where he forced them to adopt him as their only.
Well, that's what the late Chibola Ige, former,
Attorney General.
Well, yes, described as the 5 fingers of a leprous hand. And then if you also remember, Chief MK Abiola, who won the June 12 election, of course, every attempt was made to prevent him from, actualizing that mandate.
Yeah.
So eventually, he died, shortly after Abacha died, he died, and then, of course, General Abdul Salami Abubakar came on board, spent 10 months, and then handed over May 29, 1999.
Okay, so let's talk about Obasanjo, because iconic things happened under him, and in part 2 we'll discuss some of these successful programs. But there was needs, there was seeds, there was Vision 2010. Vision 2010 first, okay, then Vision 2020. So needs was the national economic development, and then the seeds was the state version. Were they successes?
Yeah, of course. Even that led to us taking a very good look at our GDP. What could come into our GDP, and then by then Nollywood was on the ascendancy. I forgot to.
In 1999.
Let's not forget about how Nollywood came. How Nollywood came to be. From 1994. Living in bondage.
Because
remember living in bondage.
Because by 1992. the National Broadcasting Commission had deregulated broadcasting, so it was no longer just national. Private investors could now come into, you know,
that was when you had
the broadcasting,
the Ray Power,
channels,
the late chief
Dokpesi, and then channels,
AIT, you had channels, and the silver bed, and the rest
DBN.
That was when they were. That was when the famous digitization was popular at the time. Asking every television to
change,
digitize,
and asking us to change our TV sets.
So gradually, you know, we had all these programs, very beautiful programs, but the sad thing was the lack of continuity. Which is what the
so from one government to the other.
Presidential candidate of 2023, Mr. Peter Obi said, is the major bane of development in the country. Every government wants to do its own program, and you can see programs lined up. Right now we have thousands of abandoned projects all over the country.
I was going to mention 2,000 all completed projects.
Well, at the time it was 12,000.
Well, the truth is, relatively, you don't blame the incumbent who comes to change what the predecessor has done. And the reason is because most of the things their predecessors have taken over or started were done with an agenda on the net, beneath. Right? So, for instance, Emeka, it's just like what the man under reference you talked about, Peter Obi has said, that if he comes as the president, that he will stop the Lagos-Calabar coastal highway because it was
he didn't exactly say that.
Of course, he had the word. He will halt it.
He said fix the roads.
Okay, so at the time, what happens to the Lagos-Calabar coastal highway? It will obviously be halted.
No, it won't. No, of course, since he has said he will stop ongoing projects.
Yes.
Well, you know the interesting thing.
You mean he'll be interested in the trillions going into that project?
You don't need to use government money. The world has become so large. We'll get to that point in discussion. You can rally funding. You can rally,
But this is a very critical issue, because before the project started, by the time he was being muted, he had mentioned that, listen, we have several federal roads. Go and maintain them. Before you use 9 trillion or 12 trillion or whatever amount.
It's not actually Tinubu's idea. President Bola Tinubu's idea.
Whose is it?
It has been there. Just like the Sokoto Lagos highway has been there since Shagari's time. These things have been in conception. There's actually that that idea,
that pathway,
to run a coastal road. It has been there. In fact, there was one year where the government talked about maybe making it for just trucks, to remove trucks from the federal highways, and our trucks
put them on the
coast. Yes.
But what we see in terms of that construction, will it take trucks? Secondly, with the erosion going on in Lagos and predictions of Lagos being underwater by 2050, is that coastal highway, does it still make financial sense? But there was also Vision 2020. It was muted in 2009. That didn't seem
that was what President Umar Musa Yar'Adua always talked about, Vision 2020, that Nigeria will become one of the top, the world's largest economies and all that. But we didn't say anything. They told us health for all by the year 2000. Money for all by the year 2000. Education for all by the year 2000. By the year 2000, they looked at it. No. We're too early.
Can we?
And then we jumped to 2020. But now when you get to 2020, they now saw that, look, this is a joke.
Okay. So in 2011, under President Jonathan, there was You Win. We said it was a failure, but when President Buhari came, we now appreciated You Win.
No, it was actually a failure. And the reason it was a failure, because if you do a census right now and you collate all the persons who benefited from that You Win today, I can promise you won't see close to 1% of anyone that has got a business that is tangible today. Most of them collected that money. 10 million as at the time. Do you know the dollar rate as at the time that money was given was 100 naira or 120 to the dollar, and someone was given 10 million naira. Do you know what that means? And some of these people, most of the persons who benefited from these things, all just scattered that away without even doing anything with it. So I would say that You Win program was a failure, because because it wasn't meant for necessarily growing the economy.
Okay, and building business.
Yes.
Okay, so under President Buhari, there were social investment programs from 2016, Empower, conditional cash transfer, homegrown school feeding, you know, that delivered relief but was limited by funding, you know, and targeted targeting at scale.
And scale. Yeah, that was the problem with a program like you. It was not designed to scale.
Exactly.
It was, you know, designed more as kind of a political program. Just like Shopee was more of compensation. Along the line, accusations of corruption ruined the program. And, you know, we have not...
Trader money also.
Yeah.
When they were trying to recoup trader money and the anchor borrowers' money, the farmers were saying, did you not just give us money to, because we voted you people in 20, so this was 2019. We voted you again in 2019. That's not what the money is for. We have used the money to marry many wives.
Yeah, and you know, that's the problem. Even at the state level, if you know trillions that state governments have spent on empowerment, gave people all kinds of things, you know, you should start, they won't give them money, but people disappeared with the money. So the thing is this, we've had the economic recovery and growth plan, you know, of course. We had
2017 to 2020.
We had a back-to-back recession.
Yes, so we did 2016, 2017. Yes.
COVID.
And then recession in 2021 again.
Yes, so the problem was that, you see,
it was inept.
There was no vision, there was no pathway. And that is the problem, you know, that's the problem we face since independence. There's not been a structured pathway that, okay, we are doing Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. What are the spin-offs? Okay, look at what we are planning. We are planning maybe about 20 cities. It's going to link this and this ports. It's going to this and that. You know, all you just see, like the Lagos to Abuja super highway. They just say it's going to go through 8 states. It's going to lead to new cities. These are intangibles. We want to see timelines. We want to see how you intend to go from A to B, you know, and on and on. So, you know, overall, Nigeria's catalog shows vision and repeated policy attempts, but chronic weaknesses in implementation, accountability, funding, and institutions have limited durable success. That the other day I was making a research that what has been stolen from Nigeria is about more than 950 trillion.
Jesus.
If you were to check it. So just imagine that a country had 950 trillion. That country will be one of the top 10 countries in the world. The lesson, policy design must be matched by transparent institutions, rigorous, consistent funding, and rigorous monitoring for real impact. It's not all doom and gloom today, though. When we come back, we will discuss Nigeria's policies that have succeeded. We ask again, what has Nigeria done for you? Stay with us.
People, the elections are around the corner. Before you know it, it will be 2027. But before then, for you to partake in the election, you must have your voter's card. And for you to have your voter's card, you must register. INEC has rolled out the drums. We call this program Continuous Voters Registration. And it is for you to register. This is to do that if you want to vote. And it's important that you take part in the process of voting. Just go there, give them your name and your address. That's all. And of course, they will capture you, take your picture, and that's all. You are done. Within 5 minutes, you are done. And after that, when the time comes, they call it claims and objection time. That's when you look at it. They will paste all the results or the names of those that have registered all over the places. You will go to the place you register, check your name that is well spelled, and the information you've given them correct. And that's all. After some time again, they will tell you that your voter's card is ready. You go and pick it. That is all. Be a good Nigerian citizen. Partake in the process, because it's a duty imposed on you by Section 23 of the 1999 Constitution as a good citizen. And you will be better off by voting, because you have your mind that, yes, you voted right. I'm Wale Ogunade, constitutional lawyer, human rights activist, and President, Voters Awareness Initiative. Thank you.
At the heart of injustice. he ventures onto this hallowed platform armed with solutions, a veritable panacea for the ill of his compatriots. Emeka unyielding locks eyes with the elite, unflinching in his resolve as he speaks truth to power with the fervor of a modern-day prophet. He advocates for a class suicide, a radical act of severance from the vines of greed that choke the very life of Nigeria, prescribing this sacrificial rite as the only balm for the nation's festering wounds. Now, we bear witness to innocent Aduluba, a custodian of integrity, where honesty flows like a river untainted. His edges of sacred truth is fortified by the solid foundation of reason, delivering a symphony of clarity that dances gracefully along the socio-cultural spectrum. Innocent, an oracle of the common people, channels their pulse, imbibing the essence of their struggles and transforming them into the language of the streets. His enlightenment becomes a lantern, guiding those lost in the shadow, illuminating pathways once obscured as he breathes life into the collective consciousness. Nri Kingdom stands as a watchdog, a vigilant watcher of the tempest that permeates the fabric of Nigeria, a land once resplendent with the vibrancy of hope, now adrift in the murky waters of uncertainty. With a heart heavy, yet buoyed by fate, he ponders the fate of this great vessel, once sailed by the spirits of unity and promise, now battered by the storms of discord and strife. What port shall it find amidst the turmoil? Where does the compass of its destiny truly point? As waves of cynicism crash against its hull, as the sirens of turmoil sing lullabies of disillusion. In this pantheon of jurors, each voice rings out a chorus, weaving the fabric of a new Nigeria. Sit, relax, and enjoy the show. The middleman of jurors. The highly anticipated book titled Citizen Jones Selected Prologues is finally here.
This explosive new book takes you on a journey through the finest writing of the ace journalist and broadcaster that will leave you inspired and informed.
The Citizen Jones Selected Prologues of Volume 1 now available. Get your copy now.
For details, contact 0706 9637 935 or send an email to enterprisetv@gmail.com.
Citizen Jones Selected Prologues,
a classical compendium of compelling arguments.
You're welcome back to this Nigeria's 65th Independence Anniversary Special on Enterprise Television. What has Nigeria done for you is the big question. Please leave your comments on our social media handles at Enterprise TV7 on all of our platforms. We will now focus on notable government programs and projects in Nigeria, and that is from 1960 to date, that are widely regarded as successful or that produced important, measurable outcomes. Many initiatives now mixed results regionally or over time. Now let's start with the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, established in 1973.
Success. We know it was a success.
Okay, beautiful. Because
the initiative was in 1970. Just come out from the school in 1970. The military president or head of state at the time tried to unite the country. So post the old girl straight to Benin, post the Hausa boy straight to Lagos. I served in Niger State and I met Akwa Ibom. My roommate was from Akwa Ibom. I had a very close Abdul, beautiful Hausa boy. Oh God, NYSC is where you marry, But with the onset of terrorism, right, in the late 2010s,
yes,
coming into 2020s, it has now become extreme sports. That you post somebody from Akwa Ibom now to Niger State. Within Niger State, we will travel from Paiko, which was where the camp was, to Katangora was 7 hours in Niger State. So put somebody on the road now. When there are kidnappers for ransom, kidnappers for rituals, all sorts of armed robbers, and terrorists everywhere. The National Youth Service has now become extreme sports. It's also rife with corruption, where the zonal inspectors and things, most people just go and do their 3 weeks, and the zonal inspectors be collecting their money.
Or even before that, even before the terrorism thing that you talked about, we had issues where, at least I served in 2007/2008, 2006-7. At that time, it's easier to bribe, right? To say, I would love to be posted to Lagos. Correct. And you have your way of going about it. And just before that, you have people from a particular region, desiring to serve in their own region and not wanting to, to crisscross to different parts of
Lagos, Port Harcourt, or Abuja. When they gave me Niger State, I was looking at what.
Okay, you asked to serve.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so you did what we were talking about.
When they now posted me to Niger State, I was like, what happened? Is it that my connection did not connect? But when my primary assignment was now in Suleja, that is 30 minutes. They know that this girl doesn't like to travel by road. 30 minutes from the Abuja airport. I now understood that they were doing the Abuja one. He walked.
Yeah, I served in Osun State. It was an interesting experience.
Which year?
That was 1994 to 95. It would have been much earlier, but ASU strike.
ASU
we didn't even talk about ASU, although that's an association.
Yeah, well, the ASU strike has been also the issue of strikes.
Generally.
Yeah, generally.
Industrial action.
Yes. And then we have the telecommunications liberalization and the GSM rollout, late 1990s to 2000. Yes.
Success.
Yeah, it was a success. Till today, it's a success.
Yeah.
In fact,
I agree.
Interestingly, Nigeria had it before a number of countries across the world. We forgot.
GSM.
GSM? No GSM.
No.
Yes.
We had
wired telephony.
GSM.
GSM.
No, Nigeria
At what
was late now. We were late comers for GSM.
Benin had the GSM even before us. In fact, they were using it to mock us.
Ghana had the GSM before.
What I'm telling you is that, you see, Nigeria
is wired telephone that we had.
Nigeria adopted it, and Nigeria made a good success, a solid success of it till today.
We have to clap for President Obasanjo on that.
Yes.
Because when we want to abuse ourselves, we say, on this Obasanjo's internet. Is this the brain that you use to cross road?
Because to be honest, I think it's time. Maybe at the end of all this, we might juxtapose administrations and ask ourselves, especially from the Fourth Republic, which of the administration is still better?
Yeah.
Because
of course, in terms of health, we had polio eradication program. If you remember, the problem of polio eradication, it almost became a big issue in Nigeria.
Especially in the north.
Yes.
We eradicated it in 2014. By the time President Buhari got in 2015, we had polio again in 2016. But luckily it has finally been eradicated. Within
and then those workers, those people administering the vaccinators are no longer being killed no longer being attacked by
two things that made polio come back was, one, they stopped even paying them. The volunteer workers who were administering the vaccine. And then terrorism, even people did not want to.
Misconception and all.
There was also the Guinea worm eradication certified in 2013.
That's it. We must applaud for Nigeria for those health.
We must remember, let's not forget Professor Oliko Iransonkuti, who was Minister of Health under General Babangida.
Yes.
That was a man who put primary health care on the ground, firmly in Nigeria. That saved us from Ebola, saved us in the time of COVID, saved us through Guinea worm, because there was a time every year we had fatalities from Guinea worm. We have fatalities from meningitis.
Yes.
But
yes, when I went for NYS, I was given meningitis vaccine.
Yes. So we had all those, those interventions have really helped us at the primary health care.
Professor Olikoye Ransome-Kuti was the one who made it illegal for anyone to smoke in public. So even he started smoking privately.
Wow.
Of course, we had the second Niger Bridge Commission 2023.
Are they using that bridge?
Yes, of course, the bridge is being used.
So let us clap for President Buhari.
Yes. Of course, President Bola Tinubu, is currently in the process of connecting it, to make sure that it links very well, from Ibuzom in Delta State, properly to Obosi in Anambra State. And then there's supposed to be a toll gate there, but it's not yet functional. But the thing is
you want to have it told?
But there's a toll gate already built there. But it's not in use.
But is it an advantage to have it?
No, what I'm saying is this.
For maintenance.
No, what I'm saying is that there should even be paying tolls to maintain a road is not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because you see the criminals hanging around the bridge.
If it's not corruption.
Hanging around the bridge. If there are funds coming from that bridge, honestly, you can maintain security, maintain solar street lights, and maintain CCTVs. It's not a bad idea.
Remember that also under President Buhari, then Minister of Transportation, Amechi, former governor of Rivers State, refurbished or built whatever it was that they did, our railways.
Yes, of course, you remember.
And they did not put security into the project.
Especially that of Abuja, Kaduna.
Yes, when terrorists derailed the Kaduna-Abuja train, Amechi was Shebi, I told you people to put security.
But it was said that there was a company that was almost given that contract, but the company did not have requisite experience.
It was a briefcase company. That's why they did not. So he probably wanted his own contractors to get it, and they didn't get it.
We also had the Abuja master plan. Abuja was a wonderful idea. I remember even in 1981. There was a story, I remember that the National Assembly set up a committee to go to some countries, to go to Brazil, to go to Switzerland, and some other countries that just built capitals, and new capitals. And the committee was given 9 million, but whether they went on that tour or not is still shrouded in mystery.
Okay, so National Space Program.
Our satellites disappeared.
They said we had ComSat 1, ComSat 2. They said ComSat 1 collapsed. That he fell down.
That the fuel
and
finished.
if we had those satellites, we would have moved
the CNG that was powering it.
China was hosting it on our behalf. They said it.
As a matter of fact, China. I understand that China is developing.
It was Obasanjo that made that possible, isn't it?
Yes.
It was during his time.
China is developing a program that, by 2030, they hope to be transmitting solar power. China hopes. Let's move ahead. China China plans to be, transmitting solar power from space.
We have telecommunications. And we now hostess. When they were hosting this satellite, we asked them, you people have not broken the atom. Why is this satellite? One come to. Satellite now fell out of the sky.
It was so celebrated.
And it was so much money that we spent on that.
It was so celebrated. And I remember they launched that day. All Nigerians were just reviewing it. And it has gone. It has gone. It has reached space.
Anyway, there was a national drug, national drug.
Gracious goodness.
Control NAFDAC, established in 1993.
Okay, NAFDAC.
Yes, improved drug and food safety regulation, crackdowns on counterfeit medicines, and significant institutional strengthening in standards and enforcement.
NAFDAC
Give it up to
under
Dora.
Professor Dora Akunyili.
Yes.
Bullets were going through her gilly, but she stayed through. They said that she lost her own sister to fake insulin. Yeah. And a lot of us have people who have died based on fake insulin. Diabetes was rife in Nigeria. Our diet is predominantly carbohydrate, which stores as excess sugar, in the body if you're not very active. And so she took the fight personal under President Obasanjo. Juro Emeka has already mentioned how she was sought out, based on her precedent.
Yes,
this woman,
impeccable character.
This woman has integrity, she has character. And regardless of what all of her brothers, from the southeast were promising her threats here, bait her with plenty money and think she stood true. But since Dora left NAFDAC,
I don't even know who the NAFDAC chairman.
Professor Mojisola there.
It's only you and Emeka that knows his name.
The Professor Moji told us that GMO was bad for us. Goodness. Then all of a sudden, she changed her mind. She did not tell us the survey that she did.
No, we've asked them to start.
My problem is her face.
But of course, we've had the Kainji hydroelectric project, other dams.
Our dams worked in what dams were supposed to do, but it wasn't that they provided Nigeria with constant electricity, because you will find that electricity supply improves when there's rainy season and then declines.
But I guess it's just the population actually.
Remember
because at the
in
time
the
it was
80s,
built, yes.
that was when snakes. We always, they always said snakes.
Did what?
No, there was a report, you remember, did a snake swallow money, Jam?
Is that the kind of snake you're talking about?
Yeah, no, snakes now were always blamed for,
snakes and monkeys were carrying money. So, are you saying that Kanji Dam did not work because we didn't have constant electricity?
No, it worked, but the interesting thing was that Nigeria's population grew.
Okay.
One of the things, the development plans.
Successive governments were not planning for
population growth.
Explosion.
Yeah. Population explosion,
you remember that under President, the head of state, Babangida, he wanted to control our population. He was saying that for one family, 4 children.
4 children. But that one can only apply majorly to the middle class, which he destroyed. His SAP destroyed the middle class.
Yeah, and then when you can compare the Kainji Dam and all our other dams to what
Kainji Dam, Shiroro Dam, Jeba Dam,
to what China is doing with dam.
No.
When China opens, what's that 2 hydro dam?
I think the 3 Gorges Dam.
The 3 Gorges Dam.
Yeah.
The earth moves by milliseconds.
Yes.
That's what a dam should do.
And China.
But you're even going far. Ethiopia just launched a new dam.
Funded by the Ethiopians for over 10 years. Yes. Citizens took ownership of that dam.
People were literally paying.
They were paying
out of their own money
of their pockets. And then government too was saving for 10 years to build their dam. And there was a lot of fanfare, for that dam. Moving on to national poverty, social investment programs, Did they work from 2016?
No, you see, the thing is this, the idea that you should line people up and giving them money
20,000 naira
has never worked in Nigeria.
It's now 25,000 under President Tinubu.
It has never worked. It has never worked.
We never see the honorees.
They don't even list those, bring the list of those. So at least let's make some calls.
President Buhari, the woman, what's that woman's name? Aisha something, the Minister of Finance.
Yes.
She lined up a few people on TV. But by the time
Umar Farouk
in 2020, Farouk,
Yes,
that's
Umar
her name.
Farouk, yes.
By
Sadia Umar Farouk.
By 2 weeks later, by the time she told us she had spent this amount of money, we're now questioning, wait, the amount of people we saw on TV is not equal from far left to far right. How did we get to spend this amount of money during COVID? It was the same woman who said she was feeding school children during lockdown. You know, so a lot of these programs, you know, were fraughted with corruption.
Yeah, then we had the UBEC. Beautiful program, which followed from the universal primary education of the Obasanjo, of the time Obasanjo was military head of state. If we throw back to when, you know, the then premier of the Western region, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, started, you know, a free education, you know, and then
is UBEC still successful? Because there's UBEC now.
The problem is the states. The states are not very keen on paying their counterpart funding. Now that is one of the things that have been, you know, messing up.
Who are they
supposed to pay counterpart funding?
So federal government will do its own, states will do its own. To fund education in each state.
And then if they were to allow the local government system to work in Nigeria, it's local governments that are actually supposed to be paying that counterpart funding.
Very true.
Not state, because primary education is supposed to be under local government.
Now, from President Obasanjo, Buhari into Tinubu, local governments are supposed to get their funding directly. So should we be expecting
But
that?
Section 162 of the Constitution, down, there is a subsection that still says that there shall be state joint local government accounts. So unless that is removed from, even by the way, Section 162 from beginning to the end, the whole of Section 162 of the Constitution should be scrapped.
There's confab
This issue of
so we need to
every month. Commission, no, people have said it now. They've submitted a proposal that what you need to do, let the state collect taxes, royalties, and pay. Let the state collect revenue and pay taxes and royalties to the federal government.
Yes,
but the idea that every month commissioners of finance will fly to Abuja to go and collect a check, that cannot make Nigeria work, because feeding bottle is aching to feed the bottle to federalism. They had the banking reforms and consolidation, early mid-2000s recapitalization. We've had recapitalization. Now we have it's still on. But the issue is that
it worked. Honestly,
at the same Nigeria. We had 89 banks at the time.
Because
we had 89 banks, but we brought it down.
But some of those collapsed banks have gone away with people's money. I remember.
Yeah, but NDIC has also tried.
NDIC will give you 5 million. You have 1 billion in a bank, they give you 5 million.
Yeah, but I think, you know, gradually we'll get there, because you see, our bank shouldn't even fail in the first place.
No, shouldn't too. Emeka, just before, sorry for interjecting, I was watching a Ghanaian blog, and a Ghanaian and a Nigerian, they were actually doing their normal banter, you know, how that Nigeria invested so much, and the Nigerian was telling the Ghanaian there are about 10 companies, Nigerian companies, that are doing well in Ghana and providing economic well-being to the Ghanaians.
Imagine.
Amongst them, 4 Nigerian banks, GT, Access, UBA, and First Bank, right, are actively doing well in Ghana. In fact, Ghanaians even don't trust their own banks, trust the Nigerian banks.
You know the
right? So, and all of this is as a result of the capitalization.
Recapitalization.
Yes, recapitalization program. So I would love to believe that is done.
We nearly did redenomination under President Jonathan and Minister of Finance Okonjo-Iweala. But you know, some people who had plenty naira stock in their tanks and they did not allow it to flow.
Well, we've also had the pension reform and contributory pension scheme, you know, which
2004.
Yes, but yes, successful scheme, which means that, of course, you know, employers, you know, out of what they pay, out of the full salary they pay employees every month. Employers take they contribute 8%, the employee contributes 10%, which is 18%. You know, but of course, National Assembly, the military have pulled out of the scheme. The police are also in the process of pulling out of the scheme. I'm sorry, and that is going to cost the federal government so much to replace. But
that didn't work.
We look at the
it doesn't look like
very
it's working, because every time federal government is always looking at that pension fund
to borrow
money. No, but let me tell you something. that pension fund, you know that borrowing has actually increased the money coming to pensioners.
You mean Ojo?
I'm aware of
Ojo
it.
money?
No.
That they've told them, don't worry.
No.
We borrowed it, but we are sure.
No.
We are going to pay.
No, I'm telling you from personal experience because I'm also a pensioner.
Okay.
I receive pensions every month.
How much? 11,000.
Living wage.
Well, so the pension is such that, you know, when President Buhari borrowed and paid back, of course there was something came up.
So there's something about Nigeria. When we borrow, we always pay back. We service our debts, right?
Yes.
The issue is that the capital will always remain.
But you know that pension fund should not actually be borrowed by the government. In a well-functioning economy, it should be borrowed by people in the real sector. But you know, government can tell you we'll pay you interest rate of 35%, 40%, which a manufacturer, cannot pay. So that is why President Bola Tinubu came out to say that government will stop borrowing domestic. Government will stop domestic borrowing.
Okay. So agricultural development programs. I want to say that under Minister Akinwumi Adesina, under President Jonathan, the agricultural ministry worked. But by the time President Buhari came and Audu Ogbe wanted to start exporting our yams,
late Audu Ogbe,
I did not understand what was happening.
You see, there was no need for us to export yams because we had not met local demand. And by the way, I believe, why would you take your yams abroad, which is what President Bola Tinubu...
No, but Ghana is exporting Nigeria's yam.
That is Ghana. We are not at the same level as Ghana.
Exporting Nigerians yam.
Yes.
We are not at the same...
We are
not at the same level as Ghana. What I'm saying is this: we should have, content utilization. We should be, which is what President Bola Tinubu has done now with shea butter. That you will not just take raw shea butter, and move it like that, which we should spread across instead of exporting raw yam. Turn it into powder.
Sir, Ghana will come and take Nigeria's yam seedlings, our yam heads.
Where do they get your yam seedlings from?
From our farm.
Why?
Because they go and plant it in Ghana, clean it up nicely, box it, and export it.
Why don't we?
Ghana yam that they are eating in
why
the UK
don't
now?
we have yam storage? I mean, for our seedlings, we should have a seed bank. Nigeria should have a seed bank, but is the laziness, in administration, in public administration, that has made us now to be looking at GMO.
But
to supplement what we ought to be doing.
We don't want GMO.
Even before that, we keep talking about our yam. Remember, the type of yam that we produce. That was why Audu Ogbe's own was rejected. Because of the variety of the one we plant. It's not the type that they would love to Ayata, I would love to believe it's Ayata.
IITA. International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA Ibadan.
Yes. No. IATA, the International Airlines.
No. We're talking of the Institute of, the Institute.
The institute that does
the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, sorry.
All right. So they are there actually to ensure that our seedlings are good enough. The harvest we get is awesome, meets international standard by all ramifications. But we don't have even that. And that's why our maize is rejected. Our yam is rejected.
Another thing also has to do with the way we handle our soil. The texture, moisture content is another thing that people look at when they want to buy your product. Moisture content. So we need to really look into our
agricultural issue. I remember that the Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON, right? They're supposed to, and I think this also affects NAFDAC. The reason I'm bringing up the issue, there was a businessman who used to export Nigerian Coca-Cola, and he was stopped in the UK. And he came to sue NBC. And NBC now joined NAFDAC to the matter, saying that they were complying with all the regulations given by NAFDAC. And NAFDAC said, sorry, this law, it was in 1992 that we gave the law. And in that year, Nigerians did not used to drink so much Coca-Cola because the UK was saying the content, the chemical content of this your Coca-Cola is dangerous for human consumption.
Ooh, really?
So which organization in Nigeria continues to look at our standards?
Which is it's one of our weakest links. That aspect is one of our weakest links. We are not, following up with standard. You see, let me tell you.
Or should we distill NAFDAC such that one particular
that's what I
focus on medicine, the other one can focus on food, and others.
NAFDAC for me should be broken into two. There should be National Agency for Food, National Agency for Drug Administration, and Control, so that we can, we can have better supervision. SON is not actually living up to.
No, SON is dead.
It's dead, I agree. Or also a report under President Jonathan said we should collapse all our 2,000 agencies. Because every president will come and is looking for 2,000 DGs and MGs and something to head all of those agencies. You are now even still saying NAFDAC break it into.
No, but you know what? But do you know the interesting thing?
What is NAFDAC doing? What is SON doing?
No, let me tell you something.
I cannot collapse all of them together.
Let me tell you something. You see, bureaucracy is a very interesting thing. Politicians use bureaucracy, to settle loyalists. It's part of democracy. That's why they say democracy is expensive. It's an expensive system to run. But what we are saying is this: the registration fees that people will pay, fines and other things can fund these agencies.
Okay.
But when you have an agency in charge of planting flowers in Nigeria Horticultural Agency.
What of Agency of Livestock? I mean, Ministry of
Ministry.
So when you have all of those, and they are cost centers instead of revenue centers, then it becomes a problem.
So there's National Integrated Power Project and Select Power Plan.
They've not, we
you
still
remember
have...
that President Tinubu, when he was governor, wanted to innovate with power. He had this contract with Enron. In fact, the badges had reached the Jora at the time, where Lagos was going to generate its own power. But we are still here. We have gone from NEPA to PHCN. We have divided and dissected the PHCN to different private organizations that we can't constantly bail out. Yet, there's no constant power. Or should we say there's constant power now? We
still have... No, the problem is one.
Because band A will give you 20 hours.
We are heading to 5 trillion debts. 5 trillion debts owed in terms of generation.
To who? Who are we supposed to pay?
Owed, from different sectors now to generation companies. You know how many times they've threatened to, to shut down generation. So I said we are heading to. Then again,
reminds me of how they took the Nigerian army off the grid, and they went to go and kidnap
Sam Etnan Air Force Barracks, named after my my late friend.
They kidnapped Sam Etnan. They kidnapped the DG of Niger Delta.
So we need more investment, because the national grid, even Aso Rock has fled the national grid. A lot of companies have fled the national grid. They've gone into self-generation. And so what you have now are mainly band A customers who form 40% of those, taking power from the national grid.
Okay,
all right.
Before you end the show, right? Because the theme today is what has Nigeria done for you. I remember that when we discussed what I have done for Nigeria, I mentioned that I was going to talk about what Nigeria has done for me in terms of giving me free university education. It wasn't exactly free, it was subsidized.
Very subsidized.
Yes, because the old fees that my father paid of 19 naira for tuition was what I still made.
Yeah, definitely.
Today it's not the same. It's going from 200,000 to 500,000, even for federal, institutions. So at least I can call myself an educated person, even though postgraduate you had to now go and pay your own. But now there's the TED fund, where students get student loans. Is that a success?
You mean the NEL fund?
NEL fund.
No,
that's big failure.
No. For me, no. NEL fund is a big success.
How?
Yes. At least there has been there have been huge responses.
From
some students have got
yes, students have got the money.
Yes.
And they are still saying, that the money, that there's still more money for more students.
If you apply.
Yes, but the interesting thing is that, there is this artist, there's a way we behave towards things. Like the response has been more from the north than from the south. The response from the south-east and south-south.
If you give,
remember, it's a loan, no?
You are going to say that.
No, that's what I'm talking about, the attitude.
Yes.
The north and the southwest have responded, have responded warmly to it. Have warmly welcomed it, but the southeast, south-south.
They don't like loans
The truth, Emeka,
they don't like loans.
The northern part of Nigeria, right? They have this little thing in their head. They know
National
that whatever comes to them,
they are never
paying it back.
That's
Already they have
free
been told.
money.
Yes, they go to their mosques to tell them, look, go and take. We won't
It's
pay
free
this.
money. Did they return alcohol?
They won't return.
No, they said it was floods. That floods washed away.
Of course, now it's always an excuse, right? So that is why I sincerely think Obafemi Awolowo made possible free education.
Yes.
Not just primary, secondary. He created Teachers Institute such that people can be trained to teach people.
True.
Right? And all of these leaders you see today, especially from the southwest of Nigeria, benefited hugely from that scheme, from that program, which was very successful.
Yes.
Now today, these people are at the helm of affairs, making decisions, and I'm wondering, why should they now encourage for loan to students rather than giving them opportunities?
No, but there was a time there was a Nigerian Loans Board. There used to be the Nigerian student loans board. In
developed countries that have loans, they don't have the many resources that Nigeria has. So if you say that student loans is something that is common,
I'm not rationalizing student. I don't support it anyway.
I'm saying that the people who say, oh, student loans is popular in the US, look, Nigeria has enough resources for us not to need to take loans. If you will just give us constant electricity and people create their own
parents
empowerment,
would want to pay their children's school fees.
These same parents that are working
of joy.
Same parents that are working to send their children abroad. They'll now come and start taking loans for school.
Why would in fact, by the way, if more parents, more of those who take their children, I'm not talking of the political class that steal money to take, if more of the working class of Nigeria can afford to send their children to school because education institutions have now become, of high quality. You will see a lot of people send their children abroad, will pay the money here. And when there's a lot of money going into the educational system,
the standard will improve.
The standard will improve.
Yes.
We'll have, we'll virtually not have any ASU strike or all those other strikes.
Very true.
Things will improve.
Oh, by the way, ASU has given the federal government another ultimatum. By October 13th.
Even doctors keep renewing their own strike.
I think for us, I think it's time we need to really, just get rid of this ASU thing. Let every university or institution of
be autonomous. But they have asked for it since 19. What's that?
But even when you make them autonomous, are you going to fund them? Because not all universities, even universities like University of Lagos, that's in Lagos, University of Abuja, that is federal capital, we still need subvention.
They want the subvention they give them. What has been the traction?
Let me tell you something.
You graduate a student of computer sciences
that
doesn't even know
a former VC of Unilag, we had interaction with him. He said 1 year the university was giving 130 million,
to do
what a subvention. But you know what, the electricity bill was over $1 billion naira.
Imagine.
How?
When? Before now or before
the last few years?
He was talking about his tenure.
So now it is now an issue. Power has become a major challenge. So all of those subventions, yes, universities should also generate revenue. But the thing is this: let education in Nigeria be of high standard.
This is your theory. Professor Omotola of Unilag, while I was still there, commercialized Unilag. We're doing Unilag water, Unilag bread, shops everywhere.
Yes, I used to drive to Unilag to buy.
And so in those years, Unilag ASU never joined ASU. And our lecturers started buying cars. They would still give them food and at the end of the year and things like that. the Professor Shofolowe that followed Jelili Omotola entered and said, hold on, is this an academic institution or a market?
But who's wrong and who is right at this point?
There has to be a thin line. You want to generate funds.
There must be that idea that you must be business-minded. You must be entrepreneurial for you to be made a VC.
Again, you have people teaching business admin in this school. How can they not generate funds?
But that vice chancellor said that what they did was that they looked at the halls, where people do all these functions and all that. And then they lease them out, and we are now getting returns. Yes, very good revenue. So the university didn't have to spend money.
Universities can actually be autonomous. Yes. Because any university or higher institution community, you see that their economy just starts to bloom. Once they say, oh, we are citing Federal University of Tech or something in Ajan Lekoko, you just see that the Ajan Lekoko village
becomes a big society.
No, because students spend money.
You must spend money.
Do you know, somebody was telling me on Monday, he gave me a ride, and said that his son just get admission to one university in the north, and that just a room for 1 year is 600,000 naira. Whoa. That he has been looking for.
Okay, we're about round Juro Emeka, what has Nigeria done for you? My own was
Nigeria has given me the right of citizenship. Which all
of us have.
I'm talking about me.
No, it's a general gift.
But there are people who have rejected.
Nobody has been born in Nigeria.
But there are people who have rejected their Nigerianness. Remember, there was a Nollywood actor who traveled to the US. At the airport, he tore his Nigerian passport.
Remember?
Out of
and he had a video. He tore the passport.
Okay, now outside of citizenship, because we all have it. It's like saying that God gave you life. We all have life.
Interesting, of course.
What else in Nigeria?
I've had my education in Nigeria subsidized, I must admit. And then I've had opportunities. The challenges in Nigeria, the problems of Nigeria, the challenges are actually, the education I've received, mentorship, not just in Nigeria, also abroad, have taught me, to look at Nigeria's challenges as opportunities.
True, very true.
Opportunities, which, I've actually, that idea has actually prevented me from joining the Japa train abroad, because I feel that Nigeria,
I cannot do 3 jobs.
I feel that Nigeria is rich enough. Yeah. Nigeria has abundant resources.
Very true.
But the problem remains leadership.
Very true.
The people have no problem. This is why we say Nigerians are difficult. And Nigerians know how to, fall into line. If they see vibrant, visionary leadership, people that lead by example.
Competent
Nigerians, if they don't see policemen, soldiers, and others going one way, Nigerians will not dare it. I know there are some who may try to, but if they are caught and dealt with, it's not when somebody is supposed to, the system, faces somebody and then you will not come and start begging, he's my brother. But if people, where you have equal opportunities and then the system treats everybody equally, Nigeria, things will fall into place.
Okay. Nigeria has also given me insecurity, bigotry, ethnicity, religious intolerance. It's part of the negatives of things that Nigeria has given to me. Juro Henry,
yes.
What has Nigeria done for you?
I think I would love to go via the parts Emeka has just created, and that is peoples. Nigeria has given me peoples. Usually when I go through social media and I see what ICE is doing to immigrants in the United States, for example, I just look at them and say, wow. So it's simply because this man
wanted to jump out from Nigeria
that he's been humiliated in the front of his children.
Nigeria not happen to you.
In the front of his wife. Oh. But that Mexican that had himself, held to the ground, of course, Mexico has happened to him, right? And I wouldn't wish that for anybody,
True.
Right? No matter how bad your country is, it's better. Someone, Sound Sultan, did a song with White Love Jean, and he said that I better remain a lion in the jungle than a dog in the city.
What?
You know, and that struck so
God's
hard.
rest is so low.
You know, so I better remain a lion in this jungle
just quickly chip this in.
than a dog in the city of the United States.
South Korea, somebody gave a false tip to the ICE, you know, and, you know, told them that there were some illegal immigrants working at the site. And meanwhile, it was the South Korean that brought in his own countrymen.
To put together.
So when the ICE guys landed there in their usual aggressive, brusque manner, they said, no. We want to go back to our country. Yeah. No. We are not here as illegal immigrants. We are ready to go back right now. They were shocked.
And even when Donald Trump was trying to correct his badly made mistake, the South Koreans said no, they weren't interested.
And they went back.
They wouldn't go back. And right now, that plant is about to be closed down.
Yes.
And this is what it takes. So if South Korea was not good enough, they would not have said.
Very true.
You know,
South Korea is one of the best countries.
It's one of the best
countries.
Very true. You know, so if we can have that experience of the South Korea, you know, such that if a Nigerian visits another country and is being humiliated, he will say, hey, I'll pack my load and I'll go back to Nigeria. You know, but unfortunately, the Nigeria you see today, we just lost a journalist, right? Somto Chukwu, who would have celebrated, you know, 30th in December. You know, but Nigeria happened to her. As much as lots of people love to twist the angle of why she would have jumped, why she did not jump, she would have stayed, and how much would they collect, and so on and so forth. But
what if she had stayed and
in the same Abuja,
yes,
some months ago, there was a fire at a 2-story building. My niece was on the 2nd floor, and she jumped. My niece is also the same age as Somto. Yes, my younger sister's daughter. She jumped, but thank God, it was just you know, she just had injuries in her legs. Yes, but she is okay now. Thank God.
But we don't know what happened to Somto Chukwu because our neighbors said they said they heard her scream. So before she jumped, she must have been terrorized.
Yeah, there's an account that says that, you know, she was actually, you know, out of panic, that she jumped out of,
so
you know,
panic. So she didn't land properly.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
of course,
I'm
how can you
my niece jumped from a two-story building, and but thank God, you know, she was rushed to the hospital.
But insecurity in Abuja, everybody has been talking about it in the last 2 years. You know, Katampe is not your regular Ajegule. It's a highbrow.
It's highbrow, yeah, very
Abuja.
well. It is.
The rent there is way more expensive than elsewhere.
But can I tell you what happened is this? You know, Nigeria moved the capital. Babangida moved the capital from Lagos to Abuja after the Oka coup of 1990. You know. Now, in moving the capital to Abuja, they didn't move with the lessons, the challenges they had in Lagos. In the 80s, mid-80s down, there was a time that residents of VI and Ikoyi were being terrorized.
Really?
By marine robbers. They would park along the shoreline. They would come in boats, park
in the 90s.
You know, attack houses.
When I finished secondary school, right, in the 90s, Lagos, under Otedola, before Marua came with Operation Sweep, armed robbers used to go from house to house.
Really?
They would write you that they are coming.
They would go in buses. Armed robbers would go in buses.
And they would come.
They would go in buses.
How would you find anybody that grew up in Lagos in the 80s and 90s who didn't experience armed robbery at home?
Do you remember the
what
day?
Changed now?
Do you know what?
Changed is that they are now kidnapping for ransom in Lagos. But in Abuja, I'm guessing that the people that we call bandits that have been, they see a lot of wealth around them.
Okay, they just want a little bit.
There's poverty in the land. You see, that gap. There's no way. Awolowo has said it now. That's the children you do not train. We will not allow the ones you have trained to sleep. So you are using an iPhone of 1.5 million, and this person cannot even buy bread of 1,000 naira. You think they will not gather? Again, our security system has totally collapsed. Yeah. Our police, if you run to them, they call for
a patrol vehicle was stolen from police headquarters. So if a patrol vehicle
closes at 6.
I mean,
they close at 6.
Allegedly,
do you remember in this country a whole ship, empty pride, disappeared from a papa port? A ship. I'm not talking of a wheelbarrow. A ship disappeared from a papa port.
That's a football field size.
If I begin to name strange things that have happened in this country.
Where snakes and monkeys are
stealing money from JAMB headquarters. So from JAMB office. So that's to tell you that look,
insecurity.
Nigeria,
our security system has collapsed.
Yeah.
So, and it's a shame on the Kwara State Governor Abdul what is it? That he went to go and commission book in Imo State. It's a shame on the president that
he citizens allow him.
In Egbe, in Okeode,
yes,
in Kwara State are running for their lives, shouting and asking for security to help them, and our leaders are commissioning books. My personal call to the federal government is, look, if you're coming into government and you know that you are high risk, you need 100 convoys, Nigeria cannot afford you. Stay at home. Because if we cannot secure the lives of every Nigerian citizen at that same level, please, we cannot afford to buy 100 cars to secure one person because you are now president or House of Rep. Our insecurity, Nigerian leaders need to deal with it.
Very true. It's truly very sad, but I think it's important that we say this, that success is often partial and region-specific. Many programs delivered clear gains, but also exposed governance, maintenance, or funding shortfalls. That is what we have today. We thank the jurors for adding their opinions. We specifically thank you for watching and also joining the conversation today. Till the next episode of The Middleman, we say Happy Independence in Nigeria and have yourself a wonderful time. Bye-bye.
Happy 65th anniversary in Nigeria. Is there anything to celebrate?
Well, life.
Middleman.